investing in people in the long term, there has to be a mutual understanding.
Hustle hard. Close mouths don't get fed. Thinking strategically, but acting like a gorilla is the kind of marketing that's small for the planet. Innovate very little. It's highly risk averse.
A good amount of videos tonight because we're going to be talking about marketing and our customers primarily. And I just want to, I'll hopefully try to solicit the questions as we go, because I think some of the videos and some of the slides will posit natural questions, and I'll just pause and ask. I really hope that you have some answers, some knee-jerk answers, meaning if you don't, there's no correct answer to this. Who's your target market? How are you going to sell to them? What channels are you going to use to sell? How should you position your brand? I mean, these are questions that even the most sophisticated companies in the world are still asking these questions. So there's no right answer. And my goal is to just get you thinking. Marketing is one of the most powerful and creative subjects in all of business. And it's one of the most important subjects too, because it strictly revolves around value creation. So I really do hope that you tune in tonight. I think it'll help you in just your business career in general. It certainly helps me every time I think about the subject of marketing. That's the power of entrepreneurship. You can be very creative with how you charge, how you invoice, and if you deliver exceptional service, and we'll talk about that tonight, about delighting and amazing customers, they're going to pay. And it could be $75 an hour for me to drive over to your house and stand there and wait for a permit inspector to come. I say, hey, how you doing, permit inspector? Open up the door. Go ahead, do your thing. 15 minutes later, they're done, and boom, that's $75 in my pocket. And it was, 35 minutes worth of work, and I hardly had to do anything. And you can do that 10 times a week, and you can make a living doing that. I mean, there's a lot of error in that. I mean, it's not that easy to be able to do that consistently, but you get the point. Is the creativity of being able to have that and be empowered to do that kind of stuff. And then obviously the better it would be is if you have 5 or 6 other people that can help you and be on your team, and they can do some of those tasks for you, and you can build a business around some core services and start specializing. I was listening to Peter Attia. He's a health enthusiast guy, and he was interviewing some people, and they talked about why certain people are not prioritizing health or going to the gym, whatever. They broke down the stats, and it turns out that only like 10% of the population is even working out at a fitness club or something like that. And they asked why is that the case? And they broke it down to these social habits that people have gotten used to, and mostly social cultural trends. And the social cultural trend is we're just so busy. We have so many responsibilities that we don't have the time to dedicate to our own personal health, believe it or not. And so it's a reality, and I related to it. But my point is that if you could see, if you're selling benefits and not features, in a sense, and this goes to everyone in the class, if you're really selling a benefit, the benefit is getting more time back so you could focus on yourself. Meaning, so if we have a customer or client, are we really selling them Brightline tickets from Miami to Orlando? Or are we selling a train experience? Not necessarily. We're selling their ability to relax, their ability to be at peace, their ability to work while they're on the train, their ability to catch up on some of their tasks. That's the real benefit of what we're selling. We're not selling a train ticket on Brightline. It's different than that. So I think exploring some of these ideas, talking about his genre of music. Let me tell you something. When you leave a party that had an awesome DJ, you don't say to your wife or your spouse or your significant other on the way home, you don't say, oh, remember when they played that song? Wasn't that fun? No, you remember an experience that you had with someone important in your life and how your relationship with that person has grown and developed. That is the essence of what a DJ is providing euphoric relationships, providing the ability for you to forget about your lives and the stress in your life, and to relax and to enjoy 45 minutes to an hour of just losing your rational brain and just being present in the moment. I mean, that is what DJ is providing. And Gabrielle, what you're providing is just being able to get your life back, being able to get your time back, being able to invest in yourself more, because you can take care of some of those other menial things. And if you could effectively communicate that to your customer base, that's a powerful concept. Just because I'm on that story, we'll start, I guess, in class, because I want to get into the subject, because I think you all will resonate with it. I had a friend that was working on a business, and the business was these luxury chocolates. And the luxury chocolates were these desserts that were really fancy. They were $5, $6, $7 a piece, and they were very, very hard to make. They were very customized. And she had a store, and her store was really pretty much break even. She wasn't able to make a lot of money in her store. So what are some ways, if you had a chocolate shop and you were selling these customized, unique chocolates, and you had a store, and your store was paying for itself, but it really wasn't providing enough margin and enough volume for you to be successful? What would you do to expand your business, to try to grow your business? Does anybody have an idea? Partnerships is correct, but it's not an investor. So if you go down the partnership lane and you're selling really, really nice luxury desserts, who would you likely want to go and call on if you had a local chocolate shop? What she ended up doing is she went to about 5 or 6 very high-end restaurants in town, the highest end restaurants. And she did, Liam, give them free samples. And she said, hey, you guys have 10 of these, 10 of these, 10 of these, and you give these as complimentary gifts to your high value customers. So they give them out. Customers had great feedback. And she said, listen, what I'm going to do, what I want to do is I want to take over your high-end dessert business. I want you to use me for your high-end desserts as opposed to you doing it in-house. And after she built that relationship and called on a few customers, she was able to get a few restaurants to say yes to this. And so she continued to grow and she was very successful being able to have her local retail spot. With her retail spot really just got the word out there about her chocolates. But where she made a lot of her money was to be able to have that high-end luxury restaurant outsource their dessert menu to her. And she would have much more volume and much more profit in those areas. And then if you asked her, and this is the point of the message, and if you really focused, what Deja, if you wanted to have a piece of chocolate, you probably shouldn't have a piece of chocolate, but it's you had a tough day, you had a long couple days, you worked really hard, you deserve chocolate, right, Deja? Yeah. Okay. So are you really eating it? How long do you savor that chocolate for? 10 seconds, however many seconds, whatever that is. Not long. But so the point is, a chocolate is a chocolate is a chocolate. Yes, it's a great experience. But what she was selling, if you really asked her, was an indulgent experience. So she wasn't just selling chocolates, she was selling an indulgent experience. People who wanted to, not to say be bad or kick their legs up and just have that moment to themselves where they can treat themselves and feel good about their accomplishments. That's what she was selling. She wasn't selling chocolate. So when you think about selling indulgent experiences as opposed to selling chocolate, you're thinking about your product and you're thinking about your service differently. And so tonight's conversation is really going to focus around those concepts of what are we really selling and how can we think differently about our products and service so that we can market our products and services best. So let's start with this question here. When you think about marketing, what do you think about? Like, what is marketing? So you see all of these words up here, how you sell, propaganda, creating, communicating, delivering, target market. These are all correct. But what I want you to hone this down on and just make it as simple as possible, because there's a lot of people will tell you marketing is about creating value, marketing is about selling, marketing is about product, place, promotion, pricing, all of these things. But just think about this. Marketing is how you make transactions happen. The biggest problem that I find with businesses like yours and like some other businesses that are starting up is truly how do they sell their first $100,000 in sales? How do they get to that point? And getting from $0 to $100,000 is the biggest step any entrepreneur will make, because once you get to $100,000 in sales, you probably learned a whole heck of a lot about your product, service, and customer, where would have never learned that unless you tried your hardest to pivot around to getting that $100,000. So the point is, making transactions happen is not easy. So all of the activities, all of the thinking, all of the research, all of the advertising that is associated with making transactions happening is marketing. So if your children was at home, and let's pretend like your child was 12 years old, and imagine you're running a home business and your 13-year-old picks up your business phone. Let's say a customer's calling, a new customer, and that 13-year-old unfortunately is very rude on the phone with your customer. They're just sort of short and they just affect the sale doesn't happen because of your kid. Is that marketing? Kid picks up the phone and is rude to a customer. That's marketing. How about just a chair? It's just a chair, sure, whatever. But what if I put on the back of that chair a Florida State University logo where Liam is going? Is that chair different now that it has a FSU logo on it? Will be. So is that marketing? A cleaning business, making employees more productive. So a person goes to a really good cleaning service will come into your office and they'll tell you like, hey, I'll clean your windows and I'll clean your floors and I'll clean your bathrooms. And this is what a mediocre cleaning service will say. And your bathrooms will be clean and your customers will come in and they'll be very happy and you will be happy because you have a clean office space. So that's marketing. Okay. But somebody who really understands the unlimited possibilities of marketing says to the customer, no, I'm not here just to clean your bathrooms and clean your toilets and clean your floors and clean your windows. I'm here to make your employees more productive. Because when you have a clean office space and when it smells good and when the bathrooms are clean, Science says, maybe you refer to some literature, that employees are more productive. So a cleaning service that comes in and tells an entrepreneur that, or tells a business owner that I want to clean your office because I think I can help you make your employees more productive. Would that be a better marketing pitch? Is that a cleaning service you're thinking about marketing? Yes, intuitively. So these are just examples of ways that we can look at marketing as anything that helps make transactions happen. Simple as that, clear as day. And so we'll move on from there. So one of the things that I wanted to make sure was evident in this slide is I'm taking a complicated subject that you could study for 3 years in college and get a master's degree on, and I'm trying to make it as simple as possible so that you can implement. Or back to this the Snap-on character as a company that understands marketing, because the Snap-on people don't look at tools as just tools. They look at tools as an extension of their hand, and all they're really doing is they're seeing. Let me move you guys out of the way here. They're seeing customers differently than others do. Here's another analogy to think through when you're thinking about marketing: a fisherman versus a marine biologist. So when you think about a fisherman mindset, what's my favorite bait? My secret spot, my lucky lure. So they're thinking about themselves and how they are going to get the fish to come to them, whatever that looks like, mostly from just trying to catch more fish. That's it. But a marine biologist mindset is, why do the fish respond to this bait? Where will they be given water temperature? No, where will they be given water temperature? What's a good water temperature for the fish? Time of day, conditions. A marine biologist is thinking way deeper than just what bait am I using? What's my secret spot, my lucky lure? So most business owners think like fishermen. Get out of the fisherman mindset. Great marketers think like marine biologists. They study the customers. Why do they respond to the messages? Why did you get more likes on this post versus other likes? Why does Santiago get a higher roar when he puts on DJ Khaled as opposed to Green Day? What is it? Is he testing these things? Does he ask these questions to himself, and does he truly understand his customer? Why do they buy at this time, in this place, at this price, at this time, at this place, at this store? Why do they do it? What pain or desire is really driving them? That's a big deal. We've talked about that in the past. And so these are just some ways to think about your customer differently than others do. Just think marine biologist and not fisherman. So think about I'm traveling today and I'm staying at the Residence Inn, and I had a great travel experience. It was really awesome. But think about a business traveler that is exhausted and arrives at 6:30 p.m. to the front desk worker who's also exhausted after a long day. Poor staffing design, because the worker is exhausted at the end of the day when most business people are coming in because they travel all day, they check in around 6 o'clock. Why would you have your front desk person at the end of their shift because they're working all day? So just knowing in your business that your staffing decisions alone, understanding your customer enough to not schedule that way. Maybe your shift changes at 4 or at 3, as opposed to, that person works from, I don't know, 11 to 5 at night, or sorry, 11 to 8 at night. You just got to think about that. So that's a marketing problem. That's not an HR problem. That's a marketing problem, because that staff member at the front desk is interfacing with a customer, and that customer is going to determine whether or not they come back and visit your store. That is how you make sales happen. That is an exchange with the customer. And what I'm trying to say with that example is that customer service fits into marketing. It is, the study of customer service is essentially a marketing study, because customer service drives interactions with sales. Okay, so and then how do we see our product differently? So here's a few examples of that. A drill bit versus a hole in the wall. Customers don't buy drill bits. Why would they want to buy drill bits? They buy holes, a way to hang things on the wall. So just thinking about a product differently, you're buying a quality hole in the wall so that people hang pictures. The drill bit is just a means to make that hole happen in the wall. A cleaning service makes employees more productive. We talked about that. Horse manure. Did I tell you the example of the horse manure, that the gentleman that entered the business plan competition and paused for a second? Did I share that story? And he says, I don't love what I do, but I love the way it makes people feel. Like I love the fact that I can provide fertilizer so that the fertilizer can help grow crops, healthy crops that help people have healthy food. We bring people together around food. And that's what horse manure is to him. It's a way to satiate people with healthy food. So he's not thinking about the horse poop. He's thinking about what the fertilizer does for the food and what that food does for the customer. In which the Apple has branded themselves in people's it's a PC. Like, it's the same thing as what I have here. I have a PC, but the reality is, not to you, not to the people who own them. This is a Mac. This is a quality computing device that is nothing like your PCs. And that's the way that Apple wants you to implant that thought into your mind, because they see their product differently. They weren't selling a box with chips and a screen. They were selling creativity, identity, belonging on the Mac movement. That's what they were selling. So they were able to see their product differently than other people do. Okay, so again, another imperative slide that we get there is that the marketing engages imagination. So with that story that I just mentioned, I'll play this quick clip from Steve Jobs. It's a very popular one. Maybe you've seen it before, and it will help us frame the conversation a little bit more tonight. I mean, I hate to get all philosophical on you for a moment, but I mentioned in the beginning of class how imperative this topic is. And if you don't notice what just happened in that video, I implore you to go back and watch it, because what Steve Jobs just did in 7 minutes is better than any marketing professor in any college will ever do. And he just summarized the philosophy around the customer and how important it is to understand the customer. And he specifically said benefit and not features. And whether you like it or not, this man in that picture and in that video has impacted your life in one way or another and has revolutionized the way that we as human beings operate. I'm assuming most of you have iPhones, and I'm assuming most of you got iPhones not because of all of the features that iPhone has, but because a lot of other people had iPhones and they look really sleek and they look really cool. That was one of the reasons why I got one, because I wanted to be the sleek, cool person. And then, oh yeah, by the way, I discovered all of the other features that went along with it. And this iPhone has changed my life. And so when we can think about how marketing can do that and how we can have this holistic plan to focus on the customer and to build killer apps and killer technologies and killer clothes and killer products and killer food menu items and awesome service experiences that deliver to the customer's needs and pains and wants and desires, that's what we're doing here. And I hope, I pray that a little bit of what he said will change the way you approach business in general. That clip, every time I watch it, it has a profound impact on me, because you're looking at a man who's passed away, and you're looking at a man who's changed the trajectory of the human species. You know, for good or bad, I don't know, but he did it. So his strategy worked, and is continuing to work to this day. So any other thoughts there before I go on Steve Jobs, or thinking about products and services a little bit differently before we start talking about the tactics we use in marketing? What a lot of you will fall victim to, and what I see often, is that people might think that your market is everyone. And if you think that, then hey, you might be able to get some awareness out there to everyone, but you're going to spend a lot of time, energy, and effort spinning your wheels to try to get everyone on board. Um, the Miami-Dade market. And it's, to me, it's a fatal flaw thinking you could take Miami-Dade and consider that to be a market. Because Miami-Dade, as we all know, is a majorly diverse area. My skin color doesn't necessarily determine whether or not I'm in one market or another market. If I'm a gringo as compared to someone who's Hispanic, we could both like techno music. So my point was saying that is there's many ways that you could take demographic variables like race, ethnicity, age, and you could use that to segment a market within Miami-Dade. But more importantly, you segment a market around customers' needs, preferences, wants. How you do that is imperative. And my point with saying that is everybody's not your customer. Miami-Dade County is not a legitimate market. It is a geographical location on a map. But to go further, to think strategically, identify who has strong, unique needs, and for what you offer. Target those with willingness and ability to pay. This is a big deal too. Willingness and ability to pay. Prioritize people likely to buy in the next 6 months. Choose segments you can actually reach with your current marketing. So social media, word of mouth, local networks. Define your top 3 target segments. We'll get to segments in a bit. Not your top 8. So I'll go back to Santiago. Let's say he's doing reggaeton, weddings, corporate events, techno, house music. He's doing birthday parties for 5-year-old kids. It's too much. Like, he can't be successful in all of those segments. But if he was to pick 3 target segments and identify them very clearly and specialize in them and allocate all of his marketing resources towards them, there's a good chance that he's going to derive a lot more revenue from that strategic thinking. So thinking strategically about your markets is where we're going to shift next. Okay, so the guiding philosophy, I said it earlier, and it's a philosophy that Steve Jobs is operating towards. So I think it's Panita has this company where she's thinking about opening a specific, customized, small plant, exotic, indoor, horticultural thing. And I love that. and I hope that what I can get out of Panita in the next couple of weeks is not necessarily about what she's offering, but more specifically, and I think I heard her say when I challenged her in the beginning of class, is what is the pain or the problem that the customers experience? Why would a customer be seeking out a place like that? What's going through the customer's mind? What kind of customer has the budget to afford to buy a $65 plant from Germany that just got imported, as a seed stage and has been nourished over the past 4 years by Panita and her team? And why are they going to walk out completely satisfied with their plant? If you could spend of all the time we spend in a week, say you have 40 hours of operational excellence and you're busy posting content and Instagram, great, good for you, congratulations. What if you spent 1 week's worth of time? Just take a week off of doing get everything out in the world and blasting your products and spend 40 hours, which is just 1 week, studying the customer, understanding the customer, where they're from, what do they like, why do they do this, really getting in their shoes, building empathy, compassion, sympathy, whatever you want to call it, and obsessing with delighting and amazing customers. If you could just spend 40 hours doing that just one time, I promise you your sales will skyrocket. This is a philosophy that I think we should all abide by, integrating throughout all the business activities, targeted efforts. The customer is not always right. So is the customer always right? Who thinks the customer is always right? Point is, there's going to be crazy customers, and I just think about like a person on an airplane in first class that takes the drink that doesn't have ice in it and throws it at the stewardess and says, "This isn't for me." Like these are situations that if you're in business long enough, you're going to deal with customers like this, and customers are not always right. Period. But we want to make them think that they're right. Not all those crazy outlandish customers I was talking about, but the reality is listening to their feedback, understanding their concerns, learning from some of the things that they have to say. Maybe there's something I could have done better here. Maybe there's a way in which I could adapt my product for my good customers, whatever that may be. And also in their mind, when you as a consumer walk into a store and you're treated poorly in any kind of way, or you're not treated with your expectation is to be treated one way and you're treated totally different, there's a good likelihood that you're never going to go back to that store. So we want to leave that experience. We want to have that product. We want to feel like the hard-earned money that we have and we've spent in your establishment, that the people that own this establishment, they value me and that they care about me. So we want to make them think that they're right as much as possible. But they're not always right. They're not going to make decisions for our business. They're not going to make decisions for who we are. Richard Branson is one of my favorite entrepreneurs just because he's kind of crazy with some of his mindsets. And so he doesn't see himself as an airline. They see themselves as an entertainment company at 25,000 feet. They're not an airline. They're an entertainment company at 25,000 feet. That mindset drove fun service, music, lighting, personality, a different flying experience, shows how refining or redefining your business changes how you compete. I put CNN as an example on here too. Does anybody remember? First of all, does anybody know who started CNN? Major media giant. His name is Ted Turner. There's a great book called Call Me Ted. He started off with billboards, and he went and he owned a bunch of big media companies that I'm sure you would recognize. I wish I knew the name of some of them after reading that big book. But CNN is not just a news station. So if you went in, so think about it this way: you're trying to begin this marketing journey. You're trying to create a strategy. You're trying to build a business, and here comes this guy thinking that he's going to do a news channel and he's going to get people to watch news 24 hours a day. So at that particular time, this is back when television was just television, no cable, before cable. There were a couple of stations, and people would watch the news in the morning, maybe for 10 minutes, and in the evening for 20 minutes. So people would only watch news across the entire world. It was 30 minutes a day. That's it. So when somebody comes in and says, "Hey, I need $30 million to build a 24/7 news station," would you want to go and invest in that company? The answer is no. But what happens? When does CNN's ratings spike like crazy? In Pennsylvania. So and so lit a flame in Congress today. Queen Elizabeth got into a car accident in Britain. Like when somebody walks into the room and says, "Hey, did you hear about this?" What station do you know at that time? This is, of course, 30 years ago, that would be covering that. The station that would be covering that would be CNN. So CNN knew that going in. It was strategic. They understood that they were certainly going to struggle in the wee hours of the morning when no one was watching news. But when some crazy news happened, the entire world is going to tune into CNN. The entire world. And that's how they ended up making all sorts of new business models. They had CNN London, CNN International. It worked. CNN, the single idea, shaped the brand and operations for the channel for the rest of the CNN experience. So my point in giving some of these examples is the Virgin Airlines example and the CNN example. These were strategic. These didn't just happen Accidentally, and they're thinking about their value proposition. What are we really offering at CNN? The 24-hour coverage? We're not offering 24-hour coverage. We're offering your ability to get the news when something breaks. And of course, Virgin is entertainment company at 25,000 feet. And so the dessert bar example, we're not just selling desserts, selling joy, celebration, and shareable experiences for parties and events. So the value proposition focuses on feeling created, the creating a feeling, and not necessarily just the product itself. So we're going to get back to this later on in the class tonight, but I wanted to touch on it now so this is in your mindset. If anybody can look at this, this is an example of something called a segmentation tree. And so the first question you might want to ask yourself, and I think this is a critical question, is are you targeting businesses or are you targeting people, consumers, households? So if you're going to advertise to a business versus advertising to a person, would that look a little bit differently if you're going to market to a household versus a business? Businesses are really they have core they have core functions, right? I'm assuming that they want to increase the value for shareholders. They want to try to make a profit. They want to grow and scale, these kinds of things. Like the entity of a business has different needs than, let's just say, a household. A household might just want to stay protected from burglars. A household might want to have a certain identity or image within the neighborhood. And so, selling to a mother or a father or even a child within a household is more about entertainment, values, activity, protection, this kind of stuff, totally different than businesses. So I think my essence in asking those questions is this should be a clear example to you. If you're not clear right from the get that you're selling either to businesses or to consumers, then you got to go back to the drawing board and really try to figure it out. If you say, oh, I'm selling to both equally and the same, that's going to be tough. You can have different segments. You can have your segment around the corporate customer, and that's how you market and brand. Maybe you have one website for your corporate clients, and then you have another website for your birthday parties that's catered towards moms or whatever that may be, that you're selling directly to consumers. But I want you to see these two key segments at the very beginning of your market: businesses versus customers. Okay, so then where do we go here? What pathway did we decide on? So now we have customer, which is a person with a heartbeat, not a business, person with a heartbeat. And now we decided to choose between males or females. So assuming there are differences, debatable nowadays, between a male and a female, then we understand that men probably want something different than women do. And so if that proposition is faring well with you, then we now know which way are we choosing. Do we want to target male customers or do we want to target female customers? Probably reasons for that. There's probably taste and interest and likes and statistics and market research. There's logic behind that we're going down this path of choosing females for a particular reason. So when we do our marketing, it's going to have some pink and some creativity, and we're gonna look at the podcasts that are most prone to female users, and it's really going to help us. I mean, even the Facebook advertising, when you choose all people between the ages of 18 and 65, and you put an ad out, it's like millions of people. And if you just choose male or just choose female, like half, like it's literally half. And so if you're choosing Miami and you're choosing people who like to go out to the nightclub, and then you're choosing female, you're targeting a different need, a different one, a different desire from that particular segment. So that's a lot right there. We just went from consumer, which takes businesses out, now to female. That's a big deal that we just went down the segment tree. So now we're going to go a step further, and we're going to further segment the market. So we're looking at college students, unemployed workers, self-employed, stay-at-home parents, hourly blue-collar worker, manager, professional, or retiree. So what this category would be called is sort of their professional segment. Like, where do they fit in on the spectrum of professional? Are they a full-time student? Are they unemployed? Are they self-employed? Are they employed by? So you get the idea. So now we're looking at employment status, another category of segmentation. What category did we choose? You chose two different segments. We're moving down the segmenting tree, which is really good. So let's just say you chose two different segments at the beginning, business and consumer. You got a lot of businesses and consumers out there. So now you're choosing two segments, but you're choosing two segments further down the segment tree. You're saying, I'm choosing consumers, I'm choosing female consumers, and I'm choosing female consumers that are stay-at-home parents and or retirees. Those are two separate segments too, because you're going to talk to a stay-at-home parent possibly a little bit differently than you're going to talk to a retiree. So you should maybe have those ads look a little different, maybe have those products look a little bit different. You know what I mean? So, all right, so now we're stay-at-home parent, retiree. Now we have another segmentation. College grad or not college grad. This is a degree of education. So which one are we choosing? So now we're only looking for stay-at-home parents who are female, retirees who are female, that are college graduates. Further segmenting down the tree. Now you can see how we're targeting a little bit more. And so here's another one. They have to own a home. That's important. And in addition to owning a home, because there's a lot of homes out there, like condominiums or even row homes that don't have a yard and don't have gardens. So they have to own a home. And in addition to owning a home, it should be a single family home with a yard. And we hope that the people enjoy gardening. Now, let me ask you a question. What do you think we're selling in this situation? Not a
A
treehouse, but
birdhouse.
a birdhouse. This business was selling. And it's completely amazing when I walk through this with students sometimes because you like I just basically told you the segment and you narrowed down and I helped you out a little bit with it, the product. So you could tell you could narrow down the product of all the products that female retirees, stay-at-home parents that have college degrees, that own a home, that have yards and enjoy gardening, of all the products that they could choose. It took us what, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 leading questions to get you to see, oh, a birdhouse. So that's how niche this target market is. And it's niche and target market are the wrong words. That is the proper way to segment a market. So if this entrepreneur had was a not masonry, a carpenter, and she and I think she had a partner were creating these birdhouses. They were really cool, unique, custom birdhouses, and so they were fairly expensive. But if you ask me at this stage of my life, would I want to go buy a $120 custom birdhouse? Maybe. But in a sense, if my wife was stay at home, she's not. And if she was retired, I think my wife would buy a $120 birdhouse because we like birds and we have a backyard and birds are cool. We probably throw some money at that. She in particular would. And so the answer is yes. It's pretty clear that that target market would be interested in a high-end custom birdhouse. And so that's where you want to get to. So I think that's a powerful depiction that is hopefully something you all do at some point. Yeah, you're good. All right, so jeans. This is funny. Back in the day, jeans were rugged, durable, and everyday wear. A typical price for jeans was around $17. They were just throwaway clothes. They just everyday rugged, whatever, put on some jeans, who cares? And then along came this entrepreneur, and he decided that he wasn't just going to make jeans. He was going to make this denim, a slight cut chain, gold thread on the seams, put the name right across the butt, and he was going to charge $85 for these jeans. And he was going to run full page ads in fashion magazines. And he was going to place his product in high-end department stores and boutiques like Go Girlies or Shop Girly. And these aren't $17 jeans. These are $85 jeans. Nobody at the time was interested in buying 85. They had no idea why anyone would buy $85 jeans. But Calvin Klein made it happen. And we're going to look through what's called the product, price, place, and promotion, and how all of these lined up perfectly for Calvin Klein and how they fit one another. So let me try to say this. The product itself was slight cut ridge, gold thread, name on butt, all that kind of stuff. The price was $85. The place was upscale women, or the people that were targeted were upscale women, 20 to 30, 35 years old. The place that it was promoting is full page ads in fashion magazines. Remember, only fashion magazines. And they placed it in high-end department stores. They didn't put it in Walmart or Target or what are these, like JCPenney's is fairly high-end. I'm thinking of this Ross Dress for Less. No, Calvin Klein jeans, the $85 kinds, that eventually made it down to the outlet stores. It was going to be uniform. And it's for a reason. So let's look at this ad and let's see. You could see that the age group is pretty clear. I mean, you don't see an older folks wearing these jeans, and you certainly don't see 13-year-olds wearing these jeans either. So that's just an example of the consistency in that product, promotion, price, place. So let's talk about product for just a second. So product, not just the physical item or service, but everything that comes with it for the customer experience. So think about a product, think about a refrigerator for a second. If you went and bought a refrigerator, do you think that you're going to take that refrigerator and put it in your car and take it home that same day? So the product itself, you don't think about just the features of the product. You also think about what would be considered part of the product, like the delivery. It's not, it's a part of the product. I mean, delivery, it's not you can't see delivery, but you just expect it with a purchase. Okay, so in addition to the delivery, and this can go for anyone in the class, what else would you expect a refrigerator to come with? So what do? Just deliver it to your house and drop it off in your front yard. When you buy it, you expect it to be delivered. And not only do you expect it to be delivered, you expect it to be installed. So we have to think through our product, not just with, here's a water bottle, but what comes with the water bottle. So I'll use another example beside the refrigerator. When you have two different chairs, we'll go back to the chair, a nice office chair, $150 office chair. And one office chair has a 6-month warranty. 6 months. And the other office chair has a 6-year warranty. Same office chair. Which office chair would you buy? It's the same chair, but in addition to offering the product in the chair, you're offering an addendum to it, which is the warranty. So the warranty matters. The warranty is people will judge you on that. So my point in saying this, when you think about your product, just don't think about just the features of the product, the physical product itself. Think about the intangibles as well. So that's product. And then price. So this is a loaded one, but we'll touch on it just for a second. Who here shops at Starbucks? So I bet, I know that I can get just as good of a cup of coffee for $3.75 from McDonald's as it would cost me $8.75 from Starbucks. Anyone want to debate me there? You could do it at home. You could do it at home for $2, and it might be just as good, if not better, than Starbucks. But Starbucks is not selling a cup of coffee. What is Starbucks selling? What Starbucks is getting you to do is understand your perceived value. They're not pricing it at their cost. This is the thing that I want everyone to get out of. Do not start with, oh, how much does it cost me to make this dress, all the materials and all the labor, and I'm going to add up all my costs. And I'm going to add a 20% markup, and that's how I'm going to price. That is one way of doing pricing, cost plus, but it is the worst way to do pricing because I promise you, first of all, some people might not even pay that cost. They might want to pay less, which would be a loss leader for you, but they might pay 3 times that much. They'll pay what they decide is their perceived value. They'll pay according to what they value. So people go to Starbucks not because of the best coffee cup in the world, but because of the aura, because of the smell, because of the brand, because of the familiarity, because of the consistency. And yeah, the coffee is pretty good, and they will spend their salary, half of their salary at Starbucks all year long because that experience is so valuable to them. They perceive that cup of coffee to be at a certain level. So think about Notre Dame is an expensive school that people go to. But a lot of people think Notre Dame, and even some of these rich schools, that the students that go there, the sticker price, that they're all paying $60,000 a year in tuition. Is that the case? Are all students at Notre Dame paying $60,000 a year in tuition? I don't know the answer to this, but I bet it's less than 50%. A lot of the students that are going to Notre Dame are on scholarships. They have financial aid. They're getting a ton of ways to be able to get them to afford to go to college there because it's very expensive. But Notre Dame has a sticker price of $60,000 because they're trying to perceive the school as a quality education. Notre Dame isn't the richest school in the world, but they charge a very high initial price so that people know that this is of quality. Of course, there's good things that go along with it, but the point is that the sticker price doesn't always have to be the price. So when you think about promotions and when you think about doing certain bundles and deals and buy one get one free, there's so many creative things you can do with pricing that, yeah, you might be saying it's an $80 dress, but with the $80 dress you get a custom whatever, and you get, next time you come in you get 20% off of your next dress. Or maybe this is the first time you're buying from this particular store or from this particular location, you get a free cheesesteak, a free dessert, whatever that is, for all first-time customers. And yeah, the cheesesteak's $16, but the first time you come in it's free. And so the creativity in pricing that you could do is incredible, and it attracts customers. I just, so many apps I have. I just went today on my phone and unsubscribed from some of these silly apps that people try to get me to use, and I use it, and then I forget to unsubscribe, and I'm getting paid $24 a month because they start off free, 6 months free, first 100 hours free, first 6 designs free. And oh yeah, by the way, if you're going to do a design, if you actually want to have any access to the things that are cool about making a design in this free design software, you can only do text and 6 different options of pictures. It's like, well, that's useless because they get you to download the app, they get you to open an app, they get you to put your email in, they show you all the features and benefits that you have access to if you only paid them more. But here's the free version over here, your little cute little free version here. But oh yeah, now we got you because it was free, but truly, so you're getting an idea with pricing and the creativity that goes along with pricing. So that's kind of all I'll touch on pricing there. When you set a price, you're signaling, this is how much value I believe I'm providing you. So price matters. It's a perception of value, perceived value, premium versus budget pricing. I mean, you clearly know that these $17 Wrangler jeans are $17 Wrangler jeans versus these $85 Calvin Klein jeans. It's making a statement. Discounts, rebates, and bundles. We talked about intro pricing versus long-term pricing. Okay, so now promotion. And we'll touch on more of these as we go. Promotion is how you communicate with current and potential customers. Example are business cards. Can anybody give me some examples of how they promote their products? Signs on trucks, shirts, logos. I have a logo on my shirt right now. Websites, flyers, posters. We'll go deeper into promotion when we start talking about guerrilla marketing. And so that's promotion. And you can be very creative with promotion. A lot of people, when they think of marketing, they go straight to promotion. They start thinking, oh, we're talking about, websites and flyers and stuff, right? No, that's certainly not the case. It's one of 4 dimensions. And place, we talked about place with channels. Channels is, or place is how you get the product or service to your customer. So there's a company called Lash Tech, home setup versus mobile service, going to the client. So, how do you get your product to your client? Well, you go to them. You deliver the place in which you're doing business with your customer is at their house. That's the place. Artisan Chocolates. This is a company I was talking about before. They have a shop, plus they have an online store. And so another place one could sell is you could sell in hotels, you could sell in retail partnerships. I'm just giving you some examples. There's a
Uh-huh.
company called Spin Chill. And so there was an innovative product that when if you wanted to make a alcoholic beverage that was warm and you wanted to make it cold really quick, they would spin it around in this ice contraption. And so they were actually very successful. I think they went on Shark Tank at some point. But they started selling one by one. They started websites, one bag of whatever it was, one device. But they had a big breakthrough when they got into liquor stores. They had ABC liquor stores statewide, thousands of units at once. So the place they discovered a new place. They were selling one-on-one. They were selling on websites. They were selling in certain small stores, and then they realized that liquor stores all over the world would want this device. And so that place of liquor store was where they found a way to get their product out and to get their product distributed better. So board bullets on a place, home-based versus storefront, online store, market stands, retail partnerships, business-to-business distribution. And so the key idea with this, and I'm going to leave this slide in a second, is that one of the smartest small business moves is to move from selling one-to-one to selling many at once through the right channel. So that would be the key to the place portion of this. So another major concept that I want to get you to think about as we talk about marketing is getting out of this thing called the commodity trap. The commodity trap is a killer for businesses. It'll be a killer for you. You can't be just like every other DJ. You can't be just like every other plant shop, Panita. I haven't heard from you in a while, but I'm calling you out. There are too many plant places in Homestead. So how are you going to be different than all of these other places? So let me see if I can walk you through the commodity trap so you can understand this trap in just a second. It starts off with the reality that there's no differentiation. And no differentiation means they can't tell the difference between you and some other plant shop. And so that means that the low differentiation is one variable or no differentiation. And in addition to no differentiation, anyone can open up a plant shop in Homestead. So it's like there's low barriers to entry. There's not regulatory needs. It's not a major capital expenditure to get in. And in addition to that, you're selling at low prices because you're trying to be competitive. You haven't demonstrated to anyone that you're different, so you can't charge high prices, and low prices and low margins, which means what does low prices and low margins mean? You're pricing low and your margin is low, which means you're not making much profit off of each unit of sale. And so you only have one choice there. If you're going to have a sustainable business, you have to sell really high volumes. Go to the grocery store as an example. The grocery store has a plethora of products. When people typically go to the grocery store, do they walk out with one item? No, they walk out with a multitude of items, a whole shopping cart filled with items. So the grocery store model is that it's low prices, or sorry, fairly low prices, low margins, sorry, not low prices, low margins on each unit, but high volumes. Low margins, high volumes. If you think about it, a jewelry store is the opposite. A jewelry store is low volumes, high margin. So if you're not differentiated, there's a ton of people coming into the market. You have low prices. It is with no differentiation, low barriers to entry. Anyone can get in. We can't make money off of what we're selling because we have low prices and low margins. We pay a lot of money for our product or service. We have limited amounts of volume. We can't serve 1,000 people. We can only serve 100 people. It's very labor intensive. We're doing the labor. The competition is intense, and we have low bargaining power with suppliers. And so all of this is a repetitive cycle. It's like an addiction. It just keeps feeding itself. And so we have to get out of this commodity trap. This is my point. Is finding a way to get out of this commodity trap is imperative for us. All right, so how do we differentiate ourselves? I have some examples here, and again, we're talking about marketing, we're talking about customers. There's a company called McDonald's, which I've used as examples in the past. McDonald's really had a difficult time about 25 years ago when this Super Size Me movie came out, and it was really demonstrating how terribly unhealthy McDonald's was. And they did an amazing job pivoting their business around that. So they were actually very innovative and they were very customer focused during that time. So that's one example. What McDonald's could have done is they could have created new products and they could have just drove those products down literally like, oh, here's a healthy product, go eat it, go eat it, go eat it. But no, they actually really did a ton of surveys, a ton of customer research, a ton of understanding of their customer in order to develop the products that their customers wanted. And they continue to get feedback on their menu consistently. McDonald's changes their menu more than any fast food store out there. So McDonald's really is a company that's very innovative and is adapting to their customers' needs. But in this particular case, we're looking at McDonald's as their differentiation is their consistency. So if you go to McDonald's in New York City and you get a number one, a Big Mac, and you go to McDonald's in Florida and you get a number one, a Big Mac, there's a high likelihood that they're going to taste very similar. That's what people want. That's where McDonald's differentiates itself is on its operational excellence and its consistency and the fact that it has better coffee than Starbucks. It's always my line of attack. So you can't be great at all things, but strong brands pick one primary lane, and McDonald's is operational excellence and consistency. So Harley Davidson, does anybody know anyone who owns a hog? They call it a Harley Davidson. Harley Davidson sells what then? Do they sell motorcycles? Identity, lifestyle, community, and they focus on features like craftsmanship, emotional connections. So Harley Davidson isn't just any motorcycle, and they certainly differentiate themselves from other motorcycles. Apple, we talked about that already. Customers expect new, bold, creative solutions. They compete through design, technology, user experience. Walmart, everyday low prices, dominates by driving costs down and passing savings to customers. So that's how they differentiate themselves. Snap-on tools, talked about that one. Deep knowledge of customer jobs, pain points, workflow. Builds trust through convenience, their tool trucks, and expertise and relationship selling. So they really focus on one or two key things. Your business needs to choose one or two key things where you're in your lane of value. You want to dominate that lane. Trying to be all five at once or all things at once will dilute your strategy. So be different. This is the key message. You don't. So this guy, his name is Jerry Garcia. And for those of you who don't know, and I'm kind of young, I didn't really like Jerry Garcia, the Grateful Dead, but I know a lot about him. And my aunts certainly liked him. And if you went to a back in the day, if you went to a Mariah Carey concert, Mariah Carey, big pop star, sung really great songs. I'd sing a few for you right now, but I'm a little under the weather. So Mariah Carey would have a concert and she would come out. No, but she wouldn't come out. For the first hour of the concert, there'd be some up and coming band that would come out and play for an hour. You're like, who are these people? I didn't come here for this. And of course, you'd pay $200 for the ticket. And then after that band comes out, maybe a person comes out and talks for a little bit. And then finally Mariah Carey comes out and she sings for about 45 minutes. Then she takes like a 10-minute intermission. And then she comes out for like maybe another 30 minutes. And she does a few pop songs and then the night's over. And okay, that was your experience. At the Grateful Dead concerts, there was no, what do they call them? The headliner was right on. There was no introductory band. So the headliner would come right on, and the concert was 4 hours long. And the concert, every single one of the concerts for the Grateful Dead was unique. Every single one of the concerts included the fans in the concert. The Grateful Dead people that were with the Grateful Dead, they weren't just Grateful Dead fans, they were called Deadheads. And they truly, truly, truly brought the customers along. And one of the most successful bands in all of history of bands is the Grateful Dead. So Jerry Garcia was getting interviewed by the Rolling Stones, and he came onto the interview and he said one of my favorite lines that he said. Somebody asked him, like, why are you so successful? And why are you all the best? And Jerry Garcia says, we do not want to be merely considered the best of the best. We don't want that. We want to be considered the only ones who do what we do. So as your business, as we move out of this commodity trap, as we move out of the conceptual understanding of what is marketing strategy all about, and hopefully these questions have been intriguing you in some way, ask yourself the question, how can I be the only one who does what I do? Nobody else does plants like me, Anita. Nobody else does events at night in Lausner Park like Deja or Sabella. Nobody else provides after-school care like Gianni. Nobody else does music like Alejandro. Nobody else does it. We're the only ones who do what we do. How can we be that? And so this is more of I want you to see this because this is more marketing, like educational marketing. So it's kind of important to understand. And we sort of talked about it with the core product, like what you see in the refrigerator, but kind of what comes along with it. So you have this thing called the outside of this. It's called the communicated product. The communicated product is the brand and the perception, the image, the identity, the story, the positioning. So examples would be Apple, innovation, Harley, lifestyle, Snap-on, professional pride. So this is real outer level. As you start going into something called the augmented product, you see how those arrows are pointing it in. The augmented product is the extras that add value. So you have the communicated product, then the augmented product is delivery, packaging, warranty, training, reminders, service guarantees. The example is the Lash aftercare kit. easy returns, flexible scheduling, loyalty perks. So that's the augmented product. Communicated product, then you have the augmented product. And then keep moving into the circle and you see tangible product. The tangible product is the physical offer, features, design, options, reliability, the lash curl, length, smooth. So smoothie, ingredients, like the ingredients in the smoothie, the cleaning tools, the durability of the tool. That's the tangible product, the physical offer. And the last thing, which is one of the most important things, is the core product, the real benefit. Examples would be, lashes again, would be confidence, cleaning, productivity. Remember, the cleaning company comes in. We're not selling just clean bathrooms. Your employees can be more productive. Smoothies. If you're selling smoothies, you're actually not selling smoothies. You're selling energy. Taxes. You're not selling just tax services. You're selling peace of mind. So to quickly walk through this, communicated product, image, identity, story. The augmented product is the delivery, packaging, warranty. The tangible product would be the features, design options, reliability. And then the core product is what the customer actually wants. So there's a lot to this, but if you really walk through this and you answer all of these questions for your product or service, and you could start seeing how these different sections of what you're really selling at these 4 different levels and how that breaks down, this will be great. So I'm going to ask Alejandro, since you're on camera. Alejandro, let's pretend like you're going to prom and you're in high school and you have a date that you really want to ask out the prom. Can you imagine this story? Is it okay if I use you for this example?
Sure, I guess.
You can say no. I can move on to someone else. But are you okay? Go to prom. This will be easy. Just need to face the story. You won't have to do anything here. We mentioned in the beginning of class about marketing, and marketing isn't about messaging. Marketing isn't about it isn't about telling stories as much as it's about communicating. Marketing is about communicating, and marketing is about making transactions happen. Marketing is about making transactions happen, but how do you do that? Well, you got to communicate. When you communicate to someone, when Alejandro is asking somebody or knows in his mind that he wants to take somebody out to prom, Alejandro, what do you need to do first in order to, so you have a date in mind. What do you have to do? Got to get their attention. So let's pretend like the potential dates, her name is Jasmine. You say, hey, Jasmine, do you have a minute? Because Jasmine's busy. Jasmine's doing all sorts of other stuff. And here comes Alejandro. He's very interested. And Alejandro has to get Jasmine's huge. So on your way to class tonight, on your way to there have been 15 different messages, if not 30 different messages, trying to get your attention. And all of them have failed because you don't remember a single one of them. And maybe there's 1 or 2 that you remember. And also, by the way, you may watch commercials or ads on YouTube or whatever, and none of them are relevant to you whatsoever. None of them have gotten your attention. So the first thing that somebody has to do is to get your attention. Hey, Jasmine, do you have a minute? Okay, cool. Once you get Jasmine's attention, Alejandro, what then do you need to get from Jasmine? Very well, you could go and ask, hey, do you have a minute? And they're like, oh, I'm kind of busy right now, but, and then you start saying, well, how's your day? How was class this morning or whatever? And she's losing you. Like the more questions you ask about her day in her class, you're losing her. So in order to, you have her attention, congratulations. Now you have to keep her interest. They want to keep listening to what you're saying. So congratulations, you have attention. Now, how do you keep her interest? We say, I've really enjoyed talking with you this year. You say, you compliment her, you flatter her, whatever that may be. So, hey, Jasmine, do you have a minute? Well, I just want to tell you, I've really enjoyed talking to you this year. So now you have Jasmine's attention. So once you have Jasmine's attention, now you have Jasmine's interest. You have her attention, now you have interest. And so once you sort of have her interest, she needs to know, like, what are you doing? Like, why are we having this conversation? Which would be called her what? After interest is Jasmine to understand what it is you're trying to do here. I mean, you could. I mean, to get her to say, okay, you have my attention, you have my interest. Now, what do you want? Like, what are you selling? Like, thank you so much. You snapped your finger really loud. Now I'm looking at you. And now you've complimented me. Congratulations. Now I need to understand, what are you offering? And so at that particular time, it'd be wise for you to say, okay, with prom coming up. Prom. Oh, that's why he's talking to me. Prom's coming up. I wanted to ask you something. So now, Jasmine, you have her attention. You have her interest, you've complimented her, and now she understands why it is that you're socially engaging with her right now. You have her understanding. Congratulations. With prom coming up, I wanted to ask you something. And now this next one's tough because belief means trust. So I don't know, Alejandro. I don't know how you've been treating her this last year and, whether or not you've been lying and scooting around to 3 a.m. DJ parties with Santiago on the weekends. So I don't know. Maybe the trust factor isn't there, but if a customer or if Jasmine has your attention, interest, and now understands they have to believe they trust you can deliver. So an example would probably be, I really love to go with you. I think we would have a good time. Genuine, authentic. From a business example, it's reviews, testimonials, credibility, consistency. You have to have the customer believe and trust in you once they understand what you're selling. And now after they believe you, what do they have to do, Alejandro? What does Jasmine have to do after she believes you? You very well can have her attention, her interest. She knows what you're selling, and she really does trust you. But is she going to buy from you? Is she going to say yes? It still hinges on whether or not they like you. They feel good about the interaction with you. A business example is a positive brand personality, good service, a real connection with a human being. Wow, that's incredible. So you're fun to be around. So I'm playing you, Alejandro. So I'm talking to Jasmine. I say to Jasmine, you're fun to be around, and I enjoy our conversations. So we like each other. Okay, good. Now we like each other. Now we're moving to conviction. They feel this is the right choice. So there's a lot going on here when you communicate with somebody. And all of this sometimes is happening within the first 15 seconds. So convictions, they feel right about the choice. The prime example would be, honestly, I can't think of anyone else I'd rather go with. And so then you move to action. They say yes. So would you like to go to prom with me? Action. Yes. The action for the business is, click here, book now, schedule an appointment. Hey, let's do it. Take the clothes off the rack, bring it into the changing room, bring it from the changing room to the point of sale system, buy it, credit card, action, boom, bag, out of the store, transaction, congratulations. You know how difficult it is to get a consumer that has no idea who you are and what you're selling from attention to action? Do you know how much money is pumped into this all day long, every day, all year long by major corporations all the time? And then the next question I'm asking is, do you know how effective these things are? You know more than I know now how creative and differentiated these ads are getting on Instagram and YouTube. And it's unbelievable. They're trying to sell to me. I'm just sitting in my house. My TV is off. Like I paused something. It hasn't been on in 5 minutes. And here comes the Apple TV background where they're like taking me through oceans and cities all over the place. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. And then next thing I see is in the top right corner, and I'm not trying to watch TV. Someone's trying to sell to me that there's a game on. There's like, it's Amazon Prime is trying to tell me that I need to go watch the Jaguars game. And I'm like, I didn't I didn't ask for you to sell me something right now, but they're creeping into my living room, unwelcomed, unknown, but they're being creative with it. So there are getting so many creative ways on how to get your attention and how to get you to move to action, to buy, to click here, to double like, to sign up, whatever it is. And this is marketing. This is getting people to transact with your company. It's communicating with the customer. So if you were wise, and I think some of these slides are posted, take these slides. When you design your marketing campaign, whatever you do, just answer somebody. How are you going to get customers' attention? How are you going to get them to be interested? How are you going to get them to understand what it is you're selling? How are you going to get them to believe that you're the right person to sell from? How are you going to build that relationship with them? How are they going to build conviction to know that you're the right person? Then how are you going to move them to action? This is very similar to the funnel concept that you would have in marketing. All right, so just a couple more. I know it's a lot, but does anybody have any questions or comments about that process that I just laid out there, or anything we've talked about thus far? So I could take a breather. Assume that the more thought that goes into it and intentionality, the more effective it is. Advertised on Facebook or Instagram recently where they try to get you to do these like multiple different posts where you have different text for each one, or maybe you post a reel and they want you to shorten a reel a little bit, or they want you to create a custom reel for a different audience. Has anybody experienced that? Me asking is that sometimes these tools can help you with it. And the multi-billion-dollar market cap, if not a trillion at this point, of Meta, they're not stupid over there. They understand marketing. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to help you be more effective with your campaigns. Of course, they get benefit when you're more effective because they get paid more because it's paid per click. But if you use some of these tools on Meta and Instagram and you advertise, they walk you through some of this. And if you, maybe you choose to do it, maybe you don't, depending on your marketing strategy. So you've gotten some traction there. So that's the place that if you can understand the product, the price, the place, and the distribution. What that is the place. Like, where do you want them to go with these funds? Where do you want them to come to your profile page? Do you want them to go to a website? Do you want more likes? Do you want more exposure? So some of this strategy behind these ads, and more particular, what I was trying to lean into is that they're trying to get you to be as custom and as specific as possible with your ads so that you can get the most impact for your money spent. And the more impact you get and money spent, the more sales you have, the more likely, like you said, that you're going to come back to Meta and you're going to spend more money because you've gotten sales. They want you to be successful. They're partnering with entrepreneurs, these social media companies. They're also robbing a lot of entrepreneurs who don't know what they're doing with a ton of their money. But they want you to be successful. And it's again, I know I'm repeating myself, but I want you to understand this. They are doing this for you, and because they know that it works, they know that it's powerful, and their tools walk you through this process. But you need to understand what it is they're doing and why it is they're doing it. So let's look at this video and we'll talk about it. So when Wii was rolled out, and I'm going to try to use this positioning strategy so you can kind of understand how they wanted to position themselves in the minds of the consumer. So sometimes a way of positioning would be like high price, low price. Examples: Walmart versus Rolex. I mean, when you think of a Rolex, you think of something luxury. You think of Walmart, you think of low price. And when you think of a big pen, how much do you think a big pen costs? Like a pen like this, 25 cents. I mean, probably not much. If you get it customized, it might be a couple bucks each. But does anybody know the brand Mont Blanc pen cost for people who understand the positioning that Mont Blanc wants? Is a pen. It's probably about $200. Well, it's a pen. As pen is a pen. Mont Blanc is a luxury pen, so that's positioned somewhere in your mind. So Nintendo did not position the Wii as a high performance gaming console. They didn't care about high performance. They positioned the Wii not to compete with Xbox and PlayStation on graphics or power. They deliberately positioned themselves away from the premium hardware segment, and instead they focused on the usability of it. So when you look at that commercial that we just watched, who can play? I'll try to ask this question like this. If anybody has ever tried to sit down with their dad or their grandma or someone and say, "Oh, come play this Xbox with me," and they pick up an Xbox controller, is that controller intuitive and easy to use? So you press this, yeah, there's 15 buttons on there. You don't know how to use it. With the Wii, you pick it up, there's like 3 buttons, and it's very simple. And it's one controller, and it's you go like this, and even a grandma can figure that out. Even a 4-year-old can figure that out. It's easy interface. So they didn't focus nearly as much on the graphics of the game and the strategies and the designs and the functionalities and the features. They just focus on the usability. And so they were competing differently within that, gosh, within that segment. So now let's move to attribute. So by attribute, so that's what we just looked at there is we with the positioning strategy of price versus quality. Now let's look at attribute versus benefit. Both of these things are good. So with we, what attribute or benefit was we trying to sell in that commercial? I heard someone say this the other day, and it was actually pretty profound. They said they bought these kids video games, but they didn't just buy their kids video games. They played these video games where the kids are having to move. They're interactive video games where the thing can see them, and it's like this dock that you sit on the TV stand that is looking at them. It can sense their motions, and they have to move with their arms and stuff. And so the parents are like, "No, they're not playing video games. They're exercising." I'm like, oh, it looks like a video game to me, but I think you're right. They're moving. So it enticed me to buy video games for my kids. So movement, family play, motion controls, and fun. This is the attribute or benefit that we assigned. The core benefit wasn't processing power. It was simple social entertainment. So an attribute is an example would be like the fastest delivery, the highest option, emphasizing the one big thing you do better than somebody else. This is how you're positioning yourself, the one big thing. Okay, now think number 3 with respect to competition. Define yourself against the others. This is how you're positioning yourself. So how is we, I guess we sort of answered this, how are they defining themselves against their competition? It was new. Who were the typical ones to buy Xbox and PlayStation? What was that segment of people? So gamers are the ones out there buying these consoles, and they're very expensive and they're super sophisticated. So think about this. This is crazy. We opened up a whole new blue ocean of people who wanted to go out and buy consoles. It was brilliant what they did. Instead of fighting with Sony and Microsoft head on, we positioned itself as the fun, active, family-friendly system for everyone, not just gamers. This was a deliberate differentiation with respect to their competition. So you can see how positioning, just answering these questions, is very powerful. How about with respect to the user? How did so we already mentioned it, but they're not targeting gamers, they're targeting non-gamers, families, seniors, kids, and casual players. So choose a specific customer to design around. Well, they're not designing around the typical gamer. Huge market expansion through user-based positioning. With respect to application, the Wii tie-in was group gatherings, parties, movement-based gaming, living rooms, social play, not long gaming sessions with complex controllers, totally different application. And so last one, with respect to product class, Nintendo didn't sell it as a gaming console. They positioned it almost as a home entertainment, fitness, family activity device. Think about that. This girl next to me in a plane, she was younger. I would think she was like freshman in college age. And she broke out this device. It looked like a massive Game Boy. And she had hundreds of games on it. And it was all one player games. And it was very antisocial. And she was just doing it by herself on a thing. And it's fun. I could just imagine her being at home with this, just holding this thing up to her thing and going like this. It's antisocial. And it's not 2 players. You can't play 2. There's only one one framework. You don't have another way to play two players. You have to hand the whole thing over. And so it's a totally different concept. So the key point in this is that we won because Nintendo picked one clear position and built everything around it. Product design, price, promotion, distribution. They didn't chase graphics. They didn't chase hardware gamers. They positioned themselves boldly and differently, and the market responded. So that's the trying to teach positioning through that example. Yeah, it's brilliant. When I did this case study for the first time called Console Wars, and all of the money that was dumped into, especially when Microsoft came out with Xbox, that was a major market bust right there. And with Halo, and it really intrigued me to understand. At the time, I was a user, like I loved Halo, but I also was an Xbox 360, not Xbox 360, Nintendo 365, I think it was. But there was also like Sega Genesis. I was that age. Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo, like this kind of stuff. And to see how that's evolved and to see how it's been intentional and to see the back end of it now as a mature adult and the strategy that went into capturing me as a target market and what worked and what didn't work, it's really powerful to see it. So I'm going to try to wrap up on these last few slides, but I want to make sure we finish with the P's because we only really got through positioning. But these positioning, product place, all this kind of stuff, these are flexible. You design them. Positioning depends on creatively shaping these elements to tell the story that you want to tell. They must be internally consistent. This is important because all four P's must support the same message, kind of like Calvin Klein. You can't have an $85 jean and in a Nintendo magazine, with a gamer magazine, because the gamer magazines aren't interested in buying $85 designer jeans. I mean, maybe they are, who knows? But you'd probably prop them up. Magazines aren't even around anymore. But in a fashion, like an upscale, high-end fashion magazine, they have to be consistent. Your pricing, packaging, promotion, and delivery should all point to the same position. Choose a clear position and make sure every marketing decision reinforces it. That's the point there. The depth and breadth. This is an important one that hopefully we can get. So now we're moving both product and service in a sense, but and I'll show you an example in just a minute. But breadth, just so you understand it, is how many different products or services categories you offer. Depth is how many variations within each category. So let's look at this example. At Shop Girly Boutique, they sell dresses, women's suits, accessories, and workwear. So now, is that breadth or is that depth? What I just dresses, women's suits, accessories, and workwear. Which one is that? Breadth or depth? Different product or service categories you offer. The breadth of the products you offer. That's awesome. Like, so these are the four different things we offer. Now, when you think about depth, you think about, okay, from dresses, we have casual dresses, we have formal dresses, and we have little black dresses. So this is how many variations within each category. So you could look at this with services as well. You go to car wash, and at the car wash, you have, your basic, your extra fancy car, and I live in Miami Beach and have a $16 million house car wash. So there's like three different types of car washes. Yeah. And within each comes the wheel clean, the tire clean, the air freshener, whatever it may be within each one of those. So I don't know if that's the best example, but you'll see how this shows up everywhere in services and in products. So the question is, how do you want to be positioned? Like where do you want your breadth and depth to be? Like, small businesses usually win by starting narrow. Like they only sell a few things, like one or two things, and then they expand as they grow. And then, of course, each of these has financial contributions. Each of these has its own role in the product mix. Each of these has relationships among the different categories. Like if you sold workwear, work pants, then maybe you might sell accessories along with the workwear. So they might work together. So the more workwear you sell, the more accessories you sell. But it might not work the other way. You don't sell accessories and then sell more workwear. So again, how these things work within your business, it's important that you understand them because, okay, so let's look at it this way. Again, I told you about this. Duolingo is just one of the best examples because Duolingo sells me a monthly subscription. That's awesome. Within the monthly subscription, they might not be making any money because it's really not charging me that much money. They put a ton of money into product development. They make very little money in my monthly subscription. But where they got me is with the competition. Where they got me is with this trophy that they give me. It means nothing. But for whatever reason, I like to see my name on a 1, 2, or 3. And I like to know that I practiced a certain amount of hours. And they give me gems in order to keep me enticed. And I run out of gems. And I need to buy more. So I'm spending $20 a week sometimes on these gems. So how does that work together? Well, they got the gems and they got the subscription. The subscription is just to get me hooked so that I come in and buy the gems because I get $20 a month worth of subscription, but I'm spending $60 a month on gems. It's like, so the goal is to offer the subscription at a cheap price, get them in the store, then get them intrigued by the competitive nature and get them to buy gems. And so we've talked about this in previous classes. This is how these product mixes and how to think about some of this kind of stuff. Okay. Now we're going to get into selling, and this will be the last portion, I promise. I want to make sure you get this because it's all important. So what's personal selling? When we're into promotion now. So what does personal selling mean? One-on-one interactions, talking to customers, pitching. You could talk about DM conversations, consultations. Most powerful for trust building and high touch services. Example for personal selling that would work would be that Lash Tech explaining styles, a cafe owner sampling smoothies. Okay, so how about advertising? How would you define advertising? Posters, radio stations, Google ads. It helps you reach more people quickly, but requires clear targeting. Sales promotion is short-term incentives that drive action now. Example would be discounts, bundles, limited time offers, referral rewards, giveaways. And then finally, publicity is free exposure. This is one of the best ones for guerrilla marketing, by the way. Free exposure through media, word of mouth, reviews, social shares, often more credible because it's not paid for. Content creators that have blogs and Substacks that they do a great job writing about products and services and they get recommended. Examples, local news feature, influencer mention, customer testimonials. The key point with promotion is that effective promotion uses a blend of all of these, not just one, every single one of these, and aligns them with your target audience and positioning. That is key. I know you guys like these videos, so I just want to play one more for you. So, and unfortunately, it was positioned in the minds of a lot of people that diet drinks, oh, that's sort of a female drink. And so Diet Dr. Pepper was thinking, no, this diet drink is not just for females, it's for men too. And so they sort of catered this messaging in a way that this corny kind of message, and these men sort of acting machismo in a way of like, hey, I'm at this birthday party. I I don't know what's going on. There's lots of pink everywhere. Give me this Diet Dr. Pepper to make me look manly. Like that was the message there. And I can show you so many other commercials that are clearly catered to men and they're ridiculous. Like Axe body wash. Come on. Like this is like all like post-pubescent teenage boy, wanting to smell ridiculous so that like it's just clearly advertised towards men. And it's the same thing for women. And when you notice this kind of stuff, you can see the intentionality behind it. And that's kind of my point is just being able to position and use these 4Ps actively. So this will be the last point. And this is a major point. And I hate to rush through it, but it's so important. We have to now that we have the product, we understand promotion, we understand price, and we understand distribution in a sense. I know we touched on a little bit of that. There's the product, price, place, and promotion. We have to think about how the customer buys. So one of the things that which is really important in science, it's so important too, is this thing called a need recognition. First of all, you have to know, like, you have to be aroused in a sense of, I need something. It's something triggers the customer's awareness that there's a problem or a desire. Something must trigger them. So what's our job in this area? Our job is to make the problem visible or to remind them of the benefit. That's what we look, make it visible, remind them of the benefit. Tax season's coming up. Hey, those shoes you're wearing are looking kind of janky. You might want to come into Go Girly to Shop Girly Boutique, get some nice designer shoes. And so, all right, Mike, now I'm interested. This is awesome. So now what am I going to do? This is a huge thing. How do consumers search for information? Monster question. There's a lot of ways they do it. Sometimes, like during COVID, I did a research study about a black swan event and uncertainty and consumer buying behavior in those times, and the role of what was called corporate social responsibility. Like, was that helpful? If we believe companies were performing corporate social responsibility in this black swan event, was it more impactful because people were so tuned into searching for information about whatever, about disease, about companies, about brands? Like, if you think about it, a lot of our institutions were decapitated in a way with Black Lives Matter, with political movements, with serious institutions being toppled in a way because consumers were just fed up with COVID and masks and mandates and discrimination. Like, so many things happen in this area, and people's information searching behavior was just so different. So if I got your need just by explaining that, roused up. So now what do you do? Where do you go? Where do you look for information? Customers look for options, Google, social media, friends, reviews. You need to know that customers go there. Once they see information, they're going to look at alternatives. Well, I can go to Shop Girly Boutique. I can go to Old Navy. I can go to another place. So what are my alternatives? They compare price, benefits, quality, convenience, where it's located, reviews, trust. So they recognize they have a need. They search for information. They evaluate opportunities, and then they make a purchase decision. Purchase decision is very important the moment they choose. Your job is to make buying simple, clear pricing, easy checkout, quick response. Thank you so much. It's so easy to buy things nowadays. Just buying things on your iPhone. It's amazing how quickly you can just tap something and like you're spending money left and right. And Amazon made $1 billion, if not more, on the click to pay. You just have to click one click pay, boom, click, boom, click, boom, click. So if you're logged into Amazon, you could buy $1,000 worth of stuff in 2 minutes. Easy, like 50 items in 2 minutes. Click, 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 click. It's really easy for them to pay. And so that making it easy for people to pay is a big part of this process. And then of course, one of my favorite is post-purchase evaluation. I have sold consulting services often and big consulting jobs, which were fun and awesome, but I never want those clients to come back again. And so then I have big consulting jobs that I'm still working with today, where I treat them post-purchase totally differently. The post-purchase on the clients that pay me on time, that I love working with, I send them thank you notes, I send them happy birthdays, I make sure they know, I check in with them, I ask them if they need me for something, I provide pro bono hours and time. I treat them like clients. For the people that I'm not that interested in working with again, they don't get that kind of treatment. So after using the product or service, they decide if it was worth it. So the customer's thinking, your job, deliver a great experience, follow up, fix problems, and turn them into repeat customers or referrals. Key point here is great marketing supports the customer at every stage, not just the moment of purchase. At the need recognition stage, at the information search stage, at the alternative evaluation stage, at purchase decision, and at post-purchase decision. So as you can see, this is an important one, and I'll try to be as brief as possible because I know we're running out of time, if not out of time. But I want to mention this. At each one of these different stages, like the awareness, as you can see here, it's not a great graphic, but on the bottom, you see awareness, comprehension, conviction, and ordering. And so then on the top, you see personal selling, advertising, education, and publicity. So as we move from awareness, from the awareness stage, advertising and publicity are the strongest. I mean, if you're trying to get people just aware of your product, publicity and advertising works great. So that's awesome. Comprehension stage, customers now want to understand what you offer. So at the comprehension stage, publicity isn't nearly as effective. It's education and it's personal selling that's a little bit more effective. So then you get to the conviction stage where they're pretty sure they're going to want to buy from you. Customers are comparing and deciding at this stage. So here, advertising and personal selling is a little bit more effective. And then finally, the ordering stage, customers ready to buy. They need confidence and clarity. So you can see how the boxes are drawn. So the ordering stage, they want personal selling. The awareness stage, they want publicity. And then there's a little bit of a mix between comprehension and conviction in between. So there's obviously more to this game of marketing. And I just gave you a little bit of a taste of what would be an entire semester of a marketing class. Some of the things that I find to be most intriguing. So that's all I got. Hopefully that helped you. Hopefully that this topic is interesting to you. And I do want to note that is one of the most important topics. And I'll go back to what Jerry Garcia said. One of the key things, especially in businesses at small stages, no offense, you're not McDonald's, you're not Walmart, you're not Amazon. And thank God you're not, because you can be more pliable and you have so many more options with what you can do. So don't just be the best of the best, be the only ones who do what you do. Customize your product and your marketing and your positioning, your price, your place, your promotion to what you know works best for your customers, which would posit that you know who your customers are, you know what they like, you know their pains, you know their needs. So go have fun. Please make sure you turn in your assignment before Sunday on time. I won't be stringent on the pricing section, but I will be stringent on the business model and marketing strategy section. So I'll stay after class if you guys have any questions. If not, I hope you guys have a good night. Inspirational when you reflect on some of these leaders that one might consider to be heroes and think about their lives